All right, good morning. Today we're going to make cowboy candy, otherwise known as candied jalapenos. I'm scrubbing these with soap and a sponge scrubber. It's very important, especially when you're canning, as I'm going to be canning these with water bath method, but you want to make sure that you've removed all the industrial wax and any possible dirt, germs, and so forth. So you need to give them a good scrub. Rinse well. And there you have it. So I have some jalapenos from my garden. These are a mix of spicy and non-spicy jalapenos. I bought 3 pounds of jalapenos from the market, and both of these have been really well scrubbed in the sink. You don't need to remove the skins or anything like that. You just slice them up like this. And for the slicing process, you're going to need gloves for the spicy peppers. Now, what would we do with candied jalapenos? Well, I'm glad you asked. They could be put on your sandwich. They could be toppers for nachos. They could be chopped up in your tacos, put in your chili. Put some in your omelet in the morning. Put some on top of a hot dog or a hamburger. Top cornbread with them. You could mix the candied jalapenos up with cream cheese and make a dip. You can put these into deviled eggs, tuna salad, potato salad, egg salad, chicken salad. So you're only limited by your imagination. Or you could just eat them as a snack. What the heck? So let's talk about the ingredients. Again, we've got the 3 pounds of jalapenos from the store, about another pound here. So that's a total of 4 pounds of jalapenos. And you could use this recipe for any peppers. If you like it a little spicier, you could use serranos or habaneros. If you like it milder, you can just buy, some kind of a mild pepper and use that for the recipe. But it's traditionally made with jalapenos, which are kind of a medium heat. And the sugar in the solution tames the heat so that they're not too hot when you eat it. Okay, you're going to want to have 2 cups of apple cider vinegar, 6 cups of sugar, and I'm using a mixture of 4 cups of white sugar and 2 cups of brown sugar. And then you're going to add whatever spices you like. Most recipes call for the addition of cayenne pepper, about a teaspoon, but I'm going to leave it out because we don't like too much heat here at our house. I've got a little half a teaspoon or so of ground ginger. We've got about a half a teaspoon of ground mustard, or the recipe actually calls for mustard seed, but I don't have mustard seed, so I'm going to just use a little bit of dry ground mustard. We've got 2 teaspoons of turmeric, 6 cloves of garlic minced, and a teaspoon of celery seed. Since I'm going to be water bath canning, I've got my jars warming up. I'm going to be using 1/4 pint jars because I plan to give this for Christmas presents. Okay, so I'm going to chop my peppers and then we'll be right back. So the jalapenos are all chopped up, about a 1/4 inch slices. I've got a mix in there of the ones from my garden that were red but sweet. And some have a little bit of a brown color. I think this is going to look really nice in jars and be really good for Christmas with the red and green. So let's go ahead and we'll make our brining solution. Okay, we put the sugar. I put brown and white mixture. Then we add our apple cider vinegar. And the spices. So into the pot went the garlic, turmeric, mustard, ground mustard, celery seed, ginger. And that is it. Now we're going to bring it to a boil and let it boil for several minutes. Okay, it's reached a rolling boil and we're going to boil for 5 minutes, stirring while we're boiling. Okay, our 5 minutes is up. Now we're going to dump the jalapenos into the syrup. Thanks, honey. Good to have a helper. All right, thank you so much. Now we'll mix these up and boil, bring to a boil again, and then boil these for about 5 minutes. So we'll be back to show you when they're boiling. Okay, we're going to fish these out using this really nice spider skimmer. Such a great tool. Much easier than doing a spoonful at a time. We have a lot of jalapeños. I think we've just about got them all. I don't see any more in there. Okay, I'm going to let this sauce thicken up a little bit for a few minutes while we fill the jars. I've had my jars simmering in water so that they're the same temperature as what I'm going to fill them with, so they don't crack and break from thermal shock. So I'll take these out. We've got one of them out here, and then we'll fill them. Okay, you do not have to heat the jars before you fill them, but when you study water bath canning, that's generally what they recommend you do. If you're going to just store these in your refrigerator, I'm sure you could just use a room temperature jar. Okay, so we've got 1/4 pints here. It's not going to take much to fill them. I've got too much in my first jar, so I'll have to use smaller scoops. Well, I'm not going to bore you by having you watch me fill the jars. But let me fill them and we'll come right back. Okay, I'm going to turn the syrup off. We have filled the jars. I got 16 plus these are 1/4 pints, and I got another 1/2 pint in addition. So let's start filling these with some juice. Don't these just look so festive? Very pretty. So let me get I think I need my funnel. Okay. So could probably use a little more. We're going to fill this to about a 1/4 inch head space, which is just pretty close to the top. Right about there. And since we're going to be water bath canning these, I'm going to make sure there are no air pockets in here. Now if you want to put them in the refrigerator at this point, you can just cover them and put them in the refrigerator. Wait about a month for the flavors to merge, and then you can use them. You could eat them immediately, but the flavors are better after it sits for a while. Okay, so we're going to fill all the jars. I need to add even a little more liquid to this one. And be back when it's all done. Okay, we filled the jars with syrup. We've taken a tool and made sure there were no bubbles in the jars. That'll interfere with the correct water bath sterilizing if you leave water bubble or air bubbles in the jars, and these all look pretty good. We've adjusted our head space to leave about a 1/4 inch, which is pretty close to the rim of the jar. And I had extra juice, which I put separately in a separate jar, and I don't know if I'll put that in the refrigerator or can it for later. I don't know. I don't know if I have room in my water bath canner for an extra jar. Okay, so it's time to put the lids on. First we have to clean around the edges of the jars. I'm going to get a wet paper towel and make sure the outside edges are clean as well as the top edge. The top edge is where you want to get your seal so that the lid will seal properly. And if these edges have a lot of sticky goo, you're going to have a hard time getting the ring off. So we're going to clean around every jar, then we'll put the lids. So I've cleaned all around the edge of this jar. It's kind of hard to do and film at the same time, but I'm kind of showing you. And now we're going to grab a lid. So we've got our new lid and a ring. Finger tight, which means just like that till the jar doesn't, you don't want it to go too tight. And we're going to do that with every jar here. But first I'm going to put them one by one into the canner. So I'm going to grab my, like I said, if you're just going to use these in your refrigerator and you have a small batch, you don't need to do the water bath canning. You can just keep them in your refrigerator. But I am going to have these for Christmas presents. So I'm going to put them back in their water one by one, and we'll come back when they're all in the canner. All right, well, I managed to pack 17 jars into my water bath canner here. I still have sufficient head space, over an inch, and I could put a little more, but I'm going to have the water boiling pretty hard. So once this comes to a hard boil, we'll cover it and we'll set our timer for 10 minutes. And here we have the leftover juice. I didn't have room in the canner for this, but I might just put it in the refrigerator, or I could process it after the Cowboy Candy is done. I don't know what I'll do yet, but we'll see. Okay, so we'll see you back after this reaches a rolling boil. We're nowhere near that point yet. It has to really be a hard rolling boil, and then you start your timer for 15 minutes. Okay. We've been hard boiling like this with the lid on for 15 minutes. So my timer just dinged. 15 minutes is up. I'm going to turn off the heat. And we'll be removing these in a few minutes, 5 minutes. Okay, it's been about 10 minutes actually, rather than just 5. But you don't want to pull these out as soon as the boiling stops. You want to let them cool a little bit for a few minutes, 5 or 10 minutes. And that'll lessen the chance of any of the jars siphoning their contents out. So let us remove them one by one. Ooh, doesn't that look beautiful? Lovely. Lovely. All right, that's the biggest jar. So as I said, you can make this with, you can use this recipe with any kind of peppers you like. I believe usually jalapeños are used because they have a firm texture, so they tend to stay crunchy. And they're not too sweet, not too hot. Compared to most of the other peppers, they're pretty mild. Okay. Now time to get down to that bottom row. And it looks as though most of these jars have already sealed even before I'm taking them out of the water bath. The little bump that was here has already gone down, so we have sealed. Oh, there's a ping of one sealing. We have 4 more in here, so I really got a nice amount. So I'm going to let these cool completely. And tomorrow we will label them, make sure all the seals are good. And of course, if you decided to make your cowboy candy and just refrigerate it, you were done a long time ago. But this I wanted to preserve for a little bit longer than just a month or so. So that's all there is to it. Look at all the candy I got. Woohoo! They look so pretty. Very festive for the holidays. I'm almost sorry I didn't put them in bigger jars like this jar here, because I would have been able to see them better. See the different colors. But these are pretty nice. Alright, so you want to leave these before you start enjoying them. You want to let them wait for a couple of weeks, preferably a month, so that the flavors can really marry. Okay, take care. See you next time. Bye.